10 United States Army Rangers, 500 Mongol Cavalry, open steppe, no cover in any direction. Most people back the Rangers without thinking twice. And the firepower argument is real, but firepower is only half the equation. The other half is ground, and on open ground with no cover and no retreat route, the Mongols have never met a problem they couldn't ride around. Most people have already picked a side. The question is whether they picked it for the right reason. The year is 1220. Kingdoms built over centuries are gone in weeks. The Mongol Empire is not simply winning wars, it is rewriting what war means. The steppe stretches flat to every horizon, pale dry grass, no ridge, no tree line, nothing to put your back against. Out there, moving in a wide dark arc, are 500 of the finest cavalry the human race has ever produced. Not raiders, not irregulars, professionals raised on horseback, trained in a doctrine European commanders were still trying to understand 2 centuries later. Each man carries a composite bow built from horn and sinew, punching through leather armor at 200 meters while his horse is at full gallop. Each warrior rotates between 4 horses mid-battle, so he is never slow and never spent. The Mongol Empire has never lost on open ground. And then there are 10 United States Army Rangers from 2026. No extraction, no resupply, nothing but the kit on their backs and the training that does not switch off. Each carries a standard infantry combat rifle, accurate well past 500 meters. 2 carry designated marksman rifles with a clean kill range of 800 meters. Their body armor treats the finest projectiles the 13th century can produce the way a stone wall treats thrown gravel. But the one thing that changes this engagement before a shot is fired is not in their kit. It is in the briefing. These 10 men know who they are fighting. They know what the Mongols do with open ground. They know what a retreating cavalry force actually means. They have been told, in clear terms, not to chase. That awareness is not the same as a plan, but on a steppe with no cover and no backup, it is the only edge they have. The ranger sergeant reads the ground in seconds. No cover, no elevation. The only thing between his 10 men and 500 cavalry is distance. And distance is exactly what the Mongols are trained to collapse. He places his men in a tight outward-facing circle, marksmen at opposite points. One instruction: nobody fires until he fires. The Mongols slow at 500 meters. They have ended formations at this range simply by arriving. The horizon filling with horsemen has broken armies that outnumbered them. The 10 men in the circle do not move. The commander sends his probe. 100 riders peel wide and circle at 300 meters. Draw fire, measure range, find out what your enemy will spend on moving targets. The sergeant watches them come around. He fires once. At 530 meters, a rider drops from his saddle. He fires again, another falls. The arc breaks, the riders pull wider, but not beyond the marksmen. 2 more shots, 2 more down, the probe pulls back. The Mongol commander considers this without hurry. A defender with greater range controls a fixed engagement, so the Mongol commander does not give him one. He orders the retreat, the entire force pulling back across the steppe until the heat shimmer takes them. Every man in that ranger circle knows what this is. The feigned retreat is the oldest move in the Mongol arsenal. Look broken. Draw your enemy off their ground and into the force waiting beyond sight. The sergeant holds his men still for 8 minutes, while the steppe sits empty and wrong around them. Then the ground begins to shake, not from the direction the Mongols left, but from 3 at once. The full 500 splitting into arms. One wave driving hard from the front, two sweeping wide in a closing arc that only reads as wrong when it is nearly done. The marksmen open at 400 meters and riders fall, but momentum at this scale does not answer to individual losses. Grenades at 100 meters tear the lead wave apart. The encirclement cracks where the charge was thickest. The sergeant takes the gap. His men move through at a controlled sprint, marksmen covering the rear. They are out. But out on open steppe with 500 cavalry is not the same as clear. What follows lasts 40 minutes across 3 kilometers of open grassland. The Mongols do not mass again. Small groups test angles, probe, pull back when fire is accurate, return from a new direction while the Rangers are still tracking the last contact. It is like fighting smoke. Two firing, two moving, cold and precise, but the steppe has no edges and the ammunition is not. Infinite. At the 40-minute mark, the sergeant counts his magazines. Then his men. 8 standing, 2 down, 1 dead. One with an arrow through the shoulder, still moving because Rangers do not stop until they physically cannot. The Mongols have lost perhaps 60 riders. The grass tells that story in slow, dark patches spreading wide. But 60 from 500 is nowhere near finished. The Mongol commander watches the pauses between shots grow slightly longer, watches his enemy slow by degrees he can measure. He has read this pattern across dozens of campaigns, and he knows exactly what those pauses mean. He has used gaps like those to end battles before. That is the unbearable thing about facing an enemy this intelligent. You cannot bluff them. You cannot manufacture energy your body has stopped producing. They have been reading exhaustion for decades, and they are reading it here from a distance no arrow needs to reach. The sergeant looks at his 8 men. At the horizon where 500 cavalry wait with the patience of people who have never needed to hurry. He makes his decision. What that decision was, the steppe kept to itself. What the Mongol survivors described years later was 10 men who would not stop, who made the final ground cost more than the commander had calculated, who fought until the rifles went quiet, and then with everything else until the plain was still. They left behind things the 13th century had no language for: brass casings, fragments of material no blade had cleanly cut, a small dark device that one warrior picked up and immediately set back down. The commander looked at it for a long time, then left it where it lay. Some things, he said, are better returned to the ground. Here is what those 40 minutes leave us with. Firepower is not the same as control. 10 men with weapons, a century beyond anything on that steppe, could not hold ground that 500 horsemen refused to yield. The Mongols did not overcome the technology. They declined to fight it on its own terms and fought it on theirs. The most dangerous force in history was not the one with the best weapons. It was the one that already knew your next move before you made it. Could 10 Rangers have broken contact entirely and survived long enough for something to change? Or does 50 to 1 on open ground always end the same way? Which side understood the other better by the end? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell. More coming, and it only gets harder to call. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.